Hey, welcome to Audio listeners. We're all about breaking down the best ideas from great books.
Want to learn from all those amazing books out there, but you just can't find the time?
That's exactly what we do. We pull the key ideas from the best books on growth and motivation.
So you can boost your personal growth, gain powerful knowledge, and find that daily motivation for free.
Here's the cool part. Every book is a complete playlist, so you can learn from start to finish.
So go check out the playlist section. You're going to find something that helps for sure.
And hey, if you like what we're doing, do us a favor and hit that like button.
You're not going to want to miss what's next, so make sure you subscribe for the latest books.
And one last thing, what book should we cover next? Let us know right down in the comments.
So, have you ever wondered what the real secret from Rich Dad Poor Dad is? You know, the one thing that truly separates the rich from everyone else? Well, it's not about being a genius or just getting lucky. It's about how they handle one single, powerful emotion that we all feel. Okay, let's get right into it. And boom, there it is, straight from the book itself. This one sentence, this is the bedrock for everything we're going to talk about. It's not that some people don't feel fear, it's that they learn how to manage it. That's what carves the path to wealth. Now, the book lays out 5 major roadblocks that can stop anyone, even smart people, from building real wealth. You've got fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. And yeah, we could talk for hours about each one, but today we're going to zero in on the big one, the one that paralyzes most people before they even start. And that's, number 1, fear. Let's just be really clear about something. The fear of losing money, it's completely real. It's totally normal. Everybody has it. I mean, from the person just starting out with $100 to the billionaire making deals. The difference, the absolute game changer, isn't getting rid of the fear, because you can't. It's learning how to make your move anyway. This is such a fascinating paradox when you think about it. The very thing people do to avoid loss, never losing a single dime on an investment, is the exact thing that guarantees they'll never really win. It means you've just kept yourself on the sidelines, watching the game instead of playing it. Okay, so if we all have this fear, what do we do about it? Well, the book lays out 2 very different paths, 2 completely different strategies for dealing with it. And the path you choose, well, it says a whole lot about your financial future. Path number 1 is for anyone who just hates risk. If the thought of losing money keeps you up at night, the advice here is super simple. Start young. The earlier you get in the game, the more that magic of compound interest does all the heavy lifting for you, and you don't have to take on as much personal risk. And this just puts it all into perspective, right? We've all heard the story about Manhattan being bought for $24, but the real lesson isn't about the deal, it's about the time. If that same $24 had just been invested and left alone, the growth would have been absolutely astronomical, all thanks to starting early. This is the big question, isn't it? The safe path is great, but it takes a long, long time. What if you're starting a little later? Or what if your dreams are bigger than just having a comfortable retirement fund? Well, that's where the second path comes into play. To take this second path, you need a totally different way of thinking. Rich Dad actually called it thinking like a Texan. In Texas, they say everything is bigger: the hats, the cars, and the attitude. The wins are huge, but the losses can also be spectacular. The real secret is how they think about those losses. This was at the heart of Rich Dad's whole philosophy. He believed that the overwhelming fear of failure makes people play it so safe that they pretty much guarantee they'll never get anywhere big. Their fear of losing literally becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And hey, this isn't just an investment idea. It's a winner's philosophy, period. You think a legendary quarterback like Fran Tarkenton could step onto the field terrified of throwing an interception? No way. You play to win, and that means you accept that failure is just part of the game. I mean, this is something we just get in almost every other part of our lives, right? Nobody, and I mean nobody, learns to ride a bike without falling down a few times. You don't learn to hit a baseball without striking out. So why on earth would we think finance would be any different? And this brings us to the ultimate example of that Texan mindset, the Alamo. It was a brutal, devastating military defeat, a total catastrophic loss. But how did Texans treat it? They don't try to hide it. They don't bury it. They turn it into a rallying cry. It becomes this incredible source of inspiration and strength that fuels them to win later on. So this Texan attitude, it's not just a nice thought. It translates directly into a really bold investment strategy. It is the fundamental difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. Just look at the contrast here. On one side, you have what everyone tells you to do. Diversify. Put your eggs in a whole bunch of different baskets. Play it safe. But on the other side, you have the winner's approach. Focus. Put a whole lot of eggs in just a few baskets that you've chosen very, very carefully. A balanced portfolio like this, it's designed for one thing: safety. It's sensible, but according to the source material, it's not a winning portfolio. It's a defensive strategy. It's built to stop you from losing everything, not to help you build massive wealth. And the winner's alternative? It's all right here in this acronym: focus. Follow one course until successful. Instead of spreading your money and your attention out all thin, you concentrate your resources on a few things you really understand deeply. Now, yeah, it's riskier, but this is how you get those extraordinary returns. So, after looking at these two very different paths, the safe, balanced approach and the aggressive, focused one, it all comes down to how you're personally wired. The choice of which strategy to follow really depends on your answer to one simple but very profound question. No, really, think about it for a second. When you fail at something, when you lose, what's your gut reaction? Does it make you want to crawl into a hole and never try again? Or does it light a fire under you? Your honest answer to that reveals pretty much everything. And this right here is the secret in a nutshell. For winners, a loss is just data. It's fuel for the fire. It's a lesson that makes them smarter, tougher, and more determined. They aren't afraid of losing because they know deep down that every single failure gets them one step closer to a huge win. But for losers, failure is the end of the road. It's just proof that they were right to be scared all along. So we'll end on this really powerful idea. The formula for winning isn't about avoiding failure at all costs. It's about transforming it. It's about taking your losses, your mistakes, your personal alamos, and turning them into the very reason that you eventually succeed. So the question I'll leave you with is this: what failure in your life are you going to turn into your next rallying cry? You know, there's a voice that you listen to that is probably the single most expensive voice you'll ever hear, and that's your inner cynic. It's that little voice that convinces you the sky is falling and that amazing opportunities are actually just disasters waiting to happen. So today we're going to look at a really powerful way to reframe that fear and, believe it or not, turn it into fuel. I mean, we all know the story of Chicken Little, right? The one who gets hit on the head with an acorn and is absolutely convinced it's the end of the world. It's a kid's story, sure, but it perfectly explains a very adult problem, one that can have a devastating, and I mean devastating, impact on our financial lives. Because you see, there's a Chicken Little inside every single one of us. You know the one I'm talking about? It's that internal alarm that just screams, what if the economy crashes? Or what on earth makes you think you can succeed at this? And when that voice gets too loud, it paralyzes us. We just freeze, and we let these incredible opportunities slip right through our fingers. Let me tell you a quick story about a friend. We'll call him Richard. He came to visit Phoenix a while back when the real estate market was way down, and he stumbled on this incredible deal, a 2-bedroom townhome for just $42,000. I mean, similar places were selling for $65,000. He got super excited and he bought it right on the spot. But, and here's the but, when Richard got home, he made a critical mistake. He started talking about the deal with his neighbor, a guy who wasn't an investor, had zero expertise, nothing. He was just another voice, what the legendary investor Peter Lynch calls noise. And that noise told Richard he'd made a really, really bad decision. Well, that was all it took. Richard's own inner Chicken Little just took over. He got hit with this massive wave of buyer's remorse. You know that horrible knot in your stomach that tells you you've messed up big time. So he picked up the phone and he backed out of the deal. Fear won. And here's the part that really hurts. The Phoenix market, well, it turned around. And just a few years later, that little townhome he walked away from was worth $95,000. It was cash flowing, generating fantastic rental income. And all he had to do was just hold on. $53,000. Just think about that for a second. By listening to unqualified noise and his own inner cynic, Richard lost $53,000 in pure profit, all on an initial investment of just $5,000. His doubt wasn't just a feeling, it was incredibly expensive. And this really brings us to the heart of the matter. Look, doubt is natural, we all have it. But when you let it run wild, when it's unchecked, it doesn't just make you cautious, it turns you into a full-blown cynic. And as we're about to see, cynics almost never win. So this is the fundamental difference in mindset, right here. Richard was acting like a cynic. He was criticizing the deal from a place of pure fear, and all he could see was a roadblock. A winner, on the other hand, analyzes. They aren't blinded by fear. No, they're guided by facts. And that's exactly why they see opportunities where cynics only see problems. Criticism blinds you. Analysis opens your eye. So, this shift from criticizing to analyzing, well, that's the secret weapon for conquering all those I don't wants. You know, the excuses and fears that keep us from taking action, especially when it comes to investing. Let's take real estate, for example. How many times have you heard this one? It's probably the number one objection out there. People hear the word landlord, and they immediately picture themselves with a plunger at 3 a.m. And this is a classic roadblock that just stops most people cold. And here's that mindset difference in action again. A cynic says, toilets? No thanks, and slams the door on real estate investing forever. But a winner asks a different question. They say, okay, I don't want to fix toilets either, so how do I invest in real estate without having to fix toilets? The problem isn't a dead end. It's just a puzzle that needs to be solved. This is how a winner thinks. It's a process. First, they clarify the real goal. It's not to own a rental property. It's to achieve financial freedom. Then you isolate the specific obstacle, which isn't that real estate is bad. It's simply, I don't want to fix toilets. Once the problem is small and defined like that, the solution becomes so obvious. You hire a great property manager. And here's the magic. Solving that one small problem doesn't just get you back on track. It unlocks your ability to scale up and buy even more properties. Okay, so now let's apply this exact same logic to the stock market, because this is the other huge I don't want that just paralyzes people. The fear of losing money is so powerful that it keeps millions of people away from one of the greatest wealth-building tools ever created. But here's the thing. Winners don't want to lose money either. Of course not. Nobody does. The difference is they don't let fear dictate their entire strategy. They analyze. They look for opportunities and, this is crucial, they use tools to manage their fear and their risk. For example, a simple stop-loss order. It's basically a command to automatically sell a stock if it drops to a certain price. It's a safety net you build with analysis, not a wall you build out of fear. So, when that little chicken inside your head starts screaming that the sky is falling and the doubt feels totally overwhelming, and you're about to back out of a great opportunity, what's the answer? What should you do? You do what one of the most stubborn, tenacious entrepreneurs in history did. You follow the lead of Colonel Sanders. Think about this guy's story. At age 66, an age when most people are retiring, his business had completely failed. He was broke, living on Social Security. So he took the one asset he had left, a fried chicken recipe, and he hit the road. He was told no 1,009 times. Can you even imagine the weight of that rejection? The constant pull of doubt telling him he's crazy? But he kept analyzing, he kept refining his pitch, and he kept pushing until one person, just one, finally said yes. And that single yes made him a multimillionaire. So when you think about all that rejection, all that fear, all that internal noise screaming at him to just give up, what do you think he did to his own inner Chicken Little? He fried it. He took that voice of doubt and he turned it into the very fuel for his success. And that's the ultimate lesson here. Don't let your inner cynic win. Analyze, don't just criticize. See the opportunity, not just the obstacle. And when that little chicken of doubt starts chirping, you know exactly what to do.
All right, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a really fascinating and honestly kind of mind-bending idea about productivity. It comes from the book The Wealth of Action, and it explores how the very things we do to feel like we're getting things done might actually be the sneakiest form of laziness out there.
So let's just jump right in with a question that might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about hard work. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? How on earth can the busiest people also be the laziest? Well, let's unpack that.
And here is the absolute core of the whole idea. Busy laziness. Now, this isn't about being lazy in the traditional sense, just lounging around. No, this is way more clever. It's when you use a flurry of activity as a smokescreen to avoid doing the one or two things that are actually genuinely important.
To make this crystal clear, the book shares this really powerful story about a businessman. And from the outside, this guy looked like he was crushing it. He worked super long hours, was always at the office, all in the name of providing for his family. He was the picture of a hard worker. But here's the twist. All that busyness, it wasn't a solution. It was a shield. He was using his 12-hour workdays to avoid the real, difficult work waiting for him at home, fixing his marriage. And in the end,
The very thing he was running from by staying so busy, it happened anyway. And when it did, everything else just crumbled along with it.
And look, this isn't just about avoiding problems at home. We do this all the time. People are too busy to get their finances in order, they're too busy to go to the gym and take care of their health, or they just fill every waking moment with distractions. TV, shopping, you name it. Anything to avoid facing what really needs to be done.
So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If staying busy is the problem, then what in the world is the solution? How do you possibly break out of a cycle that on the surface feels so incredibly productive?
Okay, the book's answer is surprising, maybe even a little controversial. It says the answer is a little bit of greed. Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. Greed? Isn't that supposed to be a bad thing? Well, the argument here is that we stay busy lazy because we've been taught to shut down the very desires that would motivate us to go after the big, important things.
And to really get this idea of healthy greed, we have to rewind the tape all the way back to childhood. For most of us, we're taught from a very young age that wanting things, having desires, ambition, wanting more money, is somehow selfish or wrong. We're literally conditioned to feel guilty about it.
And this is exactly how it happens. I mean, these phrases probably sound pretty familiar, right? They are the classic greatest hits of guilt conditioning. Whether it's a direct shot like greedy people are bad or a classic guilt trip, the message we get loud and clear is your desires are a problem. So just push them down.
And what happens is, over years and years, this conditioning builds up these invisible walls around our minds. It creates a kind of mental prison that limits what we think is even possible for ourselves. And that prison is guarded by one simple, devastatingly effective phrase. And there it is, the conversation ender, the dream killer. I can't afford it. It sounds like a harmless statement of fact, right? But the book argues that it's actually one of the most destructive things you can say to yourself.
Why? Because the second you say, I can't afford it, your brain just stops. It accepts defeat. Problem-solving mode, off. It makes you feel sad, helpless, and deep down, your spirit knows it's a lie. It knows you're capable of more, and it starts to fight back against that feeling of giving up.
But here's the really cool part. There's a key to unlock this mental prison. And it's not some complicated 10-step plan. It is an incredibly simple, almost laughably simple shift in the language you use.
This is the key. You just change the period to a question mark. You go from the dead-end statement, I can't afford it, to an open-ended question, how can I afford it?
See what that does? It's like flipping a switch. Instead of shutting your brain down, it kicks it into high gear. Your mind immediately starts to churn, looking for answers, brainstorming ideas, exploring possibilities. It replaces that feeling of sadness and helplessness with excitement and energy.
So just look at the difference here, side by side. It's night and day. On one side, you have a closed, lazy mind that leads straight to helplessness. On the other, you have an open, active mind that creates possibility and genuine excitement. And the only thing that changed was the question you asked yourself.
And this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The cure for busy laziness is that little greed. But now we can see what it really means. It's not about being a selfish jerk. It's about letting yourself want things, a better life, better health, a better relationship, and then asking, how can I get it?
The book offers this really fun, memorable way to put this into practice. It says to tune your brain into radio station WIFM. That stands for What's in it for me? And when you find yourself avoiding something, you ask that question, not to be selfish, but to connect that hard task to a positive result you actually want.
Because at the end of the day, that desire, that greed for something better is what drives all human progress. Think about it. We invent things because we want a better, easier life. We study and work hard for better opportunities. That desire for more is the engine that has pulled us out of the caves and pushed us forward. Without it, nothing changes.
And this quote just flips the whole script. Guilt is worse than greed, for guilt robs the body of its soul. The whole point is that the guilt we've been conditioned to feel about wanting more is actually way more toxic and paralyzing than the desire itself. Guilt keeps you stuck. Desire, when you channel it, gets you moving. And really, it all boils down to this timeless piece of wisdom. Hiding from your goals because you're afraid of being called greedy or being judged is pointless. People are going to have opinions no matter what you do. You'll be criticized if you try, and you'll be criticized if you don't. So you might as well go after what you truly feel is right for you.
So I'll leave you with this one last thing to think about. Take a really honest look at your own life, at your own to-do lists and packed schedules. Ask yourself, what important thing might I be staying so busy to avoid?
All right, welcome to The Explainer. We are about to dig into a powerful and, maybe a little controversial idea about the financial habits we all just, take for granted.
From the time we're kids, it's pretty much drilled into our heads, right? Get a good job, make sure you pay your bills on time, and then, save whatever's left. It sounds like the most basic, solid financial advice you could ever get. It's just what responsible people do.
But what if that's all wrong? What if the most responsible habit you have is actually the very thing holding you back, the thing keeping you broke? That's the crazy question at the heart of what we're looking at today. We are going to totally challenge that core belief and check out how one simple, kind of weird switch could literally change everything for you financially.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this radical idea, we've got to first talk about something super important. We need to draw a line between the result we're all dreaming of and the habit that actually, gets us there.
I mean, think about it like this. Someone might say, man, I'd love to have a body like Schwarzenegger. It's so easy to look at somebody who's super successful, right? Whether it's Arnold or some big-shot entrepreneur, and just wish we had what they have. We're laser-focused on that final result.
So what's the real secret then? How do they get there? Is it just pure luck? Did they win the genetic lottery? Or was it just one big decision they made? Or is it something else? Something deeper? Something that's happening day in and day out? And that's it. Right there. That's the whole key. It's not about genetics. It's about the daily habit of working out. See, our lives aren't really shaped by our wishes or some big thing we did once. No, they are a direct reflection of our habits, the things we do over and over again. And the exact same rule that builds a crazy strong body, well, it also builds a crazy strong bank account.
So, okay, if habits are the real deal when it comes to money, let's take a hard look at the most common money habit there is. The one that, as we're about to see, is basically a trap.
All right, check this out. This is the typical paycheck cycle for most people. First, you get paid. Awesome. Then what? Step 2, you pay everyone else. The government gets their cut, the landlord or the bank gets theirs, the credit card companies, you pay them all. And then, finally, step 3 is you pay yourself with whatever's left over, which, as step 4 shows, is usually not much. Or, let's be honest, sometimes it's nothing at all.
And this is the habit of paying yourself last, if you even get to pay yourself at all. That's the whole problem right there. By putting everyone else first, you've accidentally made yourself dead last on your own financial priority list. It's a habit that almost guarantees you're only ever going to get the leftovers.
Okay, so what's the alternative? If that's the trap, how do you get out? Well, this is where things get really interesting. We're about to flip all that common sense stuff completely upside down.
Here it is, the radical new rule. I just pay myself first, before I pay even the government. Whoa. I mean, just picture that for a second. You get your paycheck, and the very first thing you do, the very first transaction, is to move a chunk of that money into your own savings or investment account. Not after you pay the bills, not after you pay rent, but before anyone else sees a single penny.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. But what happens if I'm short on money? How is that even possible, right? It's the first thing that pops into your head. If I pay myself first, and then I can't cover my bills, what happens then? Aren't the bill collectors and, the government going to come knocking? It sounds totally nuts, completely irresponsible. But here's the thing. The genius of this rule isn't about just ignoring your bills. It's all about changing what motivates you.
And this is how that pressure actually builds strength. This is the core psychology behind the whole strategy. It's about taking that financial fear, that pressure that most of us run away from, and turning it into your greatest motivation.
Just think about it. Who complains louder? Let's say you don't pay yourself this month. You decide to skip saving. Who's going to yell at you? Nobody. There's silence. Your motivation to fix that? Pretty low. But what happens if you don't pay your creditors? Your landlord, the credit card company? Oh, you're going to hear about it. They will make a lot of noise. And your motivation to find that money? Suddenly, it's sky high. See the difference?
That pressure, it literally forces you to seek out other forms of income. When you pay yourself first, you intentionally create this gap, this shortfall. And that pressure isn't meant to break you. It's meant to force you to get creative. It's the kick in the pants you need to find new ways to make money. Maybe you pick up a side gig, start a little business, or just start thinking way more strategically about your finances.
There's this great analogy right out of those old comic book ads, the 98-pound weakling. So you've got the bully,
In this case, the bill collectors kicking sand in your face. Now, what do most people do? They get weaker. They just give in and pay the bully first. But with this new mindset, you use that fear of the bully to get stronger. It's like you're going to the financial gym. You're building up your mental money muscles, and you come out stronger on the other side, both mentally and financially.
Okay, so having this powerful new habit is a huge deal, but it's not the whole picture. There's another massive roadblock that can completely derail you, and that's the high cost of arrogance.
So what is financial arrogance? It's basically using arrogance to hide your own financial ignorance. It's believing that what you don't know, well, it just isn't important. And we've all seen this, right? You're talking to someone and they clearly don't get a topic, say investing. And instead of just admitting it, they pretend it's stupid or not worth knowing. That's not confidence. It's just a wall they build to hide the fact that they don't know.
And this quote really nails it. What I know makes me money. What I don't know loses me money. That is so powerful. Think about it. Every single time you're arrogant about something financial, you're slamming the door on knowledge that could actually make you money. And at the same time, you're leaving the door wide open for ignorance to come in and lose you money. So what do? It's actually pretty simple, even if it's a little tough on the ego. When you know you're ignorant in a subject, you have to educate yourself. You just have to admit, hey, I don't know this. And then you do something about it. Find an expert who does. Grab a book on it. Just start learning. Being humble is really the first step to getting smarter.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. Let's put it together into a simple, actionable workout plan for your own financial strength.
So here it is, your 2 core habits for financial fitness. Habit number 1, pay yourself first. And don't be afraid of the pressure that creates. Use it. Let it make you smarter and more creative with your money. And habit number 2, overcome arrogance. Don't ever be afraid to admit what you don't know and then go learn it. These 2 habits, man, they work together. They're what build real, lasting financial strength.
And that really just leaves us with one last big question. A question for you to really think about. Look at your own life, your own money, your own habits. After all this, who are you paying first?